Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Well, just to underscore how crazy scared the Democrats are that they might actually lose this election, here's another effort that they're trying to do to steal this election. The Department of Homeland Security is actually rubber stamping citizenships prior to the election. They're waiving security checks to register as many new immigrant voters as they possibly can. Now, this Senate Republicans obtained an email showing a Texas immigration office demanding volunteers to work overtime in an effort to grant as many people citizenship as possible before the end of September. The July memo is from a branch chief at the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Houston office, and it said the goal was to approve as many citizenship applications as possible due to the election year. Now, Democrats and their pro-amnesty allies launched an effort earlier this year to help 1 million permanent residents become citizens and register to vote, but they fell almost 400,000 people short. So now they had an influx of nearly 600,000 new citizenship applications, but that completely overwhelmed the agency. So now they need these new volunteers to come in, work overtime, so they can process these applications, clear the backlog, so that they can get these people registered to vote. So they don't even care. They're waiving the security checks. They don't even know who they're bringing in. They don't even know, if they're going to even pass the citizenship test properly. They just got to get them in, get them ready to vote. Who cares if they even are going to have the values that we deem so important here to become an American citizen? This is what we're having to deal with this election cycle. It's absolutely crazy. Now, something big that just happened today, we've been telling you about this, the Saudi 9/11 bill that would allow families of the 9/11 victims to be able to sue Saudi Arabia thanks to the declassification of the 28 pages. Well, the White House vetoed that legislation today. And Obama, of course, came out and kept on saying that the courts are going to end up wading into terrorism issues that are best left to national security and foreign policy officials. He doesn't want to have to become the victim of any of these foreign countries coming after him for war crimes, for all of the drone retaliation and all of the innocent civilians being killed with his drone strikes. He said he's very good at killing people. And he also warned about potentially serious financial consequences for the United States. Of course, we know Saudi Arabia threatened to cut off all that funding. So here we are, once again, taking orders from Saudi Arabia. Owen Schroyer has more.
Ladies and gentlemen, Barack Obama has just vetoed a bill that would allow United States citizens and the families of the victims of 9/11 to sue Saudi Arabia. Now, if you just want to make this as a plain Jane statement as possible, Barack Obama has just put the interest of Saudi Arabia over the interest of United States citizens. If that doesn't tell you who Barack Obama really is, I don't know what will. Folks, Donald Trump brought the 28 classified pages to light. Jeb Bush tried to act like they didn't exist. The mainstream media tried to act like they didn't exist. You were called a conspiracy theorist if you brought them up. Donald Trump brought them to the forefront. And now families are using that momentum to try to seek some truth and justice from 9/11. So what do? They want to sue Saudi Arabia. And guess who's right there to block their path? Barack Obama. Once again, folks, Barack Obama is not for the United States. He's not for the United States citizen. And I think that this story illustrates how Barack Obama puts the interest of Saudi Arabia over the interest of his own citizens. This is despicable and disgraceful, but who would expect less from our current commander-in-chief? Barack Obama, you are more loyal to Saudi Arabia than you are the United States. This is Owen Schroyer from Infowars.com.
Senator Schumer and John Cornyn have spoken out about this, saying this is absolutely ludicrous. And of course, it's going to be swiftly and soundly overturned in Congress. They've called this a disappointing decision on behalf of the Obama administration, saying it's a refusal to listen to the families of the victims taken from us on September 11th. If the Saudis did nothing wrong, they should not fear this legislation. If they were culpable in 9/11, they should be held accountable. The families of the victims of 9/11 deserve their day in court, and justice for those families shouldn't be thrown overboard because of diplomatic concerns and, quite frankly, threats from Saudi Arabia. But that's what we're dealing with here. Now, other things that we can expect to have all of our eyes on are Hillary Clinton's wonky eyes in this upcoming debate. Now, a lot of people are really talking about the fact that her eyes seem to be all over the place in one of her latest appearances when she wasn't, woke up from one of her naps. But there's an article up at The Hill talking about Clinton's eye issues and saying that it appears she has a problem with her left sixth cranial nerve. That nerve serves only one function, and that's to make the lateral rectus muscle contract. And that is what helps keep the eyes in control there. It comes out of the base of the brain, runs along the floor of the skull, immediately beneath the brain before coursing upward toward the eye. Dysfunction of that could cause what we saw with Hillary Clinton the other day. Now, it really goes on to break down about Hillary Clinton's report from her physician and why people are now calling for her to have a thorough neurologic exam, and an independent one, not one performed by her physicians, but an independent physician that isn't bought and paid for by the Clintons, talking about her physician reported that she was placed on Coumadin to dissolve the blood clot. But that's incorrect because Coumadin has no effect on an existing blood clot. It only serves to decrease the chance of further clotting. And the physician also reported on follow-up exam that the clot had resolved. But that's surprising since the majority of such clots do not dissolve. And the way that it was documented that this clot had resolved hasn't been reported. So, here we have an anomaly that they say, just trust us. We've checked up on her. It's totally fine. It's gone. She's completely fine. And then they say it's most likely that she still does have this clot. The transverse sinus is still blocked. So that would cause increased pressure, swelling, decreased blood flow to the brain. That would place pressure on the exposed portion of that nerve at the base of her brain, which would explain her eyes and also that collapse that we witnessed in New York City on 9/11. And there again, they just demand that she undergo an independent neurologic exam, have proper studies to determine whether or not she still has this blood clot at the base of her brain, swelling of the brain, and increased intracranial pressure. And, whether or not her brain injury, traumatic brain injury, by the way, is still going to affect her ability to do her job. There you go, people. It's not a conspiracy theory anymore. A lot of people are now coming out saying, you know what, we really do need to get to the bottom of this. She ain't that healthy. And check this out. So here's just another way that we're having to deal with these people who are just wheeling this woman out. Like Matt Drudge said, she's going to be a brain in the jar there at the White House. They're doing everything they can to get her in, like we saw with the FBI investigation. Well, now the FBI has given immunity to her top aide, Cheryl Mills, and 2 other staff members. They were granted immunity deals in exchange for their cooperation in the now closed FBI investigation. So the Associated Press was told today that Mills gave federal investigators access to her laptop on the condition that what they found couldn't be used against her. What? So just like they didn't have Hillary Clinton testify under oath, then they also have one of her top aides, who, by the way, was also allowed to represent her in this FBI investigation. She said there was a certain time within the investigation, she had to turn to her attorney, her representation, Cheryl Mills. How does that happen? How do you get to represent the client in a case that you yourself might be caught up in? How does that even work? But it does work because when you're the crooked Hillary Clinton, you get what you want. So that's just even more craziness. Hopefully she'll be asked about it. Maybe Donald Trump will be one of the only people to bring it up in the debate. That would be rather exciting, keep us on the edge of our seat. But don't worry. That whole FBI investigation, we're going to get to the bottom of it because it's now been announced. Most of Clinton's recovered emails will be released after the election, right after the election day. This is according to a new timetable that was set today by a federal judge. So they're doing every single thing they can to make sure that this brain in a jar makes it to the White House.
If you want to know about all the countries that Hillary Clinton has single-handedly destroyed, look no further than our website, Infowars.com. There's an article up online right now, it's trending, written by Wayne Madsen. Wayne's going to be on Alex Jones' show later today, and then the Nightly News tonight with Owen Schroyer. I want to take you through what he said. I encourage you to take a look at this 11-page article in its entirety. It's amazing. It's entitled, Here's a Handy Chart of Clinton's World Destruction. And then he goes on to write about what Secretary of State Colin Powell had written about Hillary Clinton. He basically said everything she touches turns to you-know-what. He said she screws up everything with hubris. And then Madsen gives this brilliant, detailed list of every country that she's been involved in and single-handedly what she's done to them. You know, Madsen talks about as Clinton as Secretary of State, she threatened Belarus, Ecuador, Bolivia, Cuba, Somalia, Uzbekistan, and Peru with recriminations if they recognized a state that she was trying to ignore. He talks about her involvement in Libya, the gun aspect of what she did on the ground in Libya, what she's done in Syria, and what her actions have done that have led to the creation of ISIS. So we're talking about a woman that is on a major power trip right now. She wants the highest office in our land, and yet look at her track record. She screws up everything she touches. Can you only imagine the foreign policy regime that we're going to have if she gets her hands on the keys to the White House? Now, Wayne Madsen goes on to talk about how Clinton's involvement in the Arab Spring resulted in the rise of Sunni Wahhabism and the Islamic State. Basically, she had a hand in the creation of ISIS in northern and western Iraq, and Iraq's plunge and dissension into hell. He goes on to talk about in 2009 her involvement in Kosovo, which led to the state increasingly becoming a state ruled by criminal syndicates and terrorists and former Liberation Army officials, which we know were basically terrorists. So we need to take a look at Hillary Clinton's record. She has a lengthy past full of crimes. I encourage you, go to our website, take a look at this article. While you're at it, download our app, Infowars.com/app. I'm Margaret Howell reporting for Infowars.com.
Well, YouTube is taking another giant leap toward political censorship. No, it's not enough that they want to demonetize any videos that have controversial topics. No, now they're going all the way. They're hiring, well, actually, it's a volunteer army of trolls to fight trolling online. So this is the new Heroes program. And this is going to get an army of volunteers, going to give them the power to mass flag and delete content which they disagree with. So this is going to open the door to total censorship, anything that they deem to be offensive. It could have cussing, it could have topics that they don't like, it could be inappropriate. It's just willy-nilly, whatever they think. So these people are being called heroes. So no, now you're not just a social justice warrior, you are a hero. These people are total red shirts, and this completely explains why these tech giants are all for the United States handing over their power as far as protecting the integrity of the internet. It's President Obama's one last globalist push before he leaves office to hand over control of the internet. They want to take away the power of the people, which has risen with the invention of the internet, and they want to give it back to the dinosaur media, who is going to continue to pump out their propaganda and keep everyone placated. This might have been one of our last free elections we might ever witness, folks. So it is pivotal that you pay attention. Stick around. Owen Schroyer will be joining me.
Joe Biggs here with Infowars.com. Join us for our live coverage of the upcoming debate between Donald J. Trump and Hillary Clinton on September 26th. Go to Infowars.com/show for all the live coverage, and also go to the Alex Jones channel on YouTube. Will Hillary wear an earpiece? Will Donald Trump and Hillary actually be on the same stage? Or will they try to do another forum like we've seen before? This is all going to be leading up to our 48-hour long coverage on November 8th of the election between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump and the future of America. Make sure you spread this like wildfire, because we need to get patriots all over the country aligned and ready to stand up and make the changes we need done by voting and getting someone in who will actually take America back and make America great again. This has been Joe Biggs with Infowars.com.